morning. Good morning. It's Jessica Magooch here, your host for the Monday Morning Motivator. Good morning. Good morning. Hi. Oh, I'm wearing my glasses today. Yes, because, sometimes I need to be able to actually see things, but the reflection might bother you. Also, before we start, want to draw your attention to my rainbow flowers that my son got me at the grocery store. I guess for St. Patrick's Day, leprechaun rainbows, they had a special at the store. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I see you coming in there on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. It's incredible. And if you're missing this live, make sure that you get on next week, because I do take questions. And I take questions ahead of time too. So for everyone that says, on Facebook ads, like, if you have so much money, how come you don't teach for free? Like, here I am teaching for free. Come join me. I will answer your sales questions. But it just goes to prove that people don't really value what they get for free. So that's, first sales tip of the meeting, right? People will value to a small degree what they get for free, and will value more what they pay for, and typically will value more the more they pay for it. So if you are in a habit of giving things away for free, and when maybe you shouldn't, or underpricing yourself, then that is part of the reason why you don't do that, right? Because let's say you're in a coaching practice and you're working one-on-one with clients, and you're giving services away for free, or for like $20 an hour or something. If they don't value it, they're not going to end up doing the work that they need to do and applying it and getting results, right? So even with the same product, the more you charge for it, the more people get out of it, because they see it as more valuable. Okay, so if it's your first time here at the Monday Morning Motivator meeting, I'm Jess Magooch. I'm your host. Every morning we get together to give you all the sales tips and inspiration that you need to fuel you through the week. And we have a special flow that we follow. If you missed meeting 1, just go back to meeting 1, because we spend some time going through all the details of what we look for as far as metrics on a weekly basis. So you might think, why are you even asking me for metrics? You're not my sales manager. The reason I ask you to be accountable to your metrics is for you, because I know that's a huge game changer. And as soon as you start doing it, you're going to start seeing results, because there's no way to avoid the truth that the numbers give you. So welcome to Monday Morning Motivator. Let's all take just a second to remember why you're doing this in the first place. Why did you decide to start this crazy thing that you started, or this crazy thing that you're selling, right? Or, even sales itself, it's like, why would you want to do that? A much easier job in the world. So why are you doing it? And if you're a business owner, why did you start your business in the first place? Because as things get difficult and as you meet challenges, it's always important to keep that in the front of your mind, so that you have the ability to put through the effort to make changes. Because change is hard, and we are naturally wired to avoid it. So knowing that about yourself, keep your mission and your vision clear in front of you, as I am going to do as well. That's meetings for you and for me. And to remember why I started this sales training coaching business in the first place. Well, it's to help people like you. So let's start with part 1, metrics minute. Okay, so it's going to sound like a broken record. Every week I'm asking you to stay accountable to your numbers. It is the most important thing that a business owner can do, is to be aware of what the numbers are in your business, right? And when I say business owner, I mean you as a salesperson as well. Someone else may be keeping you if you have a sales leader, they may be keeping you accountable to metrics. But you'd be surprised how many companies I've worked with where the sales leaders aren't keeping their team accountable for metrics, and they're all totally focused on sales. So so how many marketing activities did you do last week? How many leads did you generate? How many of those leads turned into discovery meetings? How many of those discovery meetings turned into presentations? How many of those presentations did you close? And how many referrals did you get off of closed and unclosed deals, right? Doesn't matter if you close it. If you did your job right, which is help the customer, sometimes that means recommending another product, then they'll be happy to give you referrals, and because you did your job, which was to help them. Cool. So all these phases, you want to count how many you did that week. Don't worry about last week. As you do it every week, the averages will account for the difference in what you did, last week versus this week. But the conversions will average out. So then you want to divide this number by this number to get the percent conversions. Cool? Or sorry, this number by this number, and each one as you go down. Okay? So if you want to know how many leads converted to sales, you could also divide that number by that number, and you get a percentage. And so keeping track of those on a weekly basis and keeping track of how they fluctuate can help you predict your business better. That's really the whole key, right? And it also tells you where in your sales process you're having challenges. No matter how good you get, there's always room for improvement, but to know where to improve. I mean, most people I meet with say, we just need help closing, but I might find that, actually they need help in the discovery phase, or they need help all the way up at the top of the marketing phase, but you'll never know what it is unless you know what those numbers are. Cool. So I really encourage you to make sure that you're keeping track of your numbers, so you have a dependable, reliable way to know what your business is doing. And even if numbers are terrifying to you, right? I told you I was a mathlete, right? So I happen to love numbers, but these are simple. These are simple concepts. They're nothing too crazy. All right. I won't even ask you to spreadsheet it, but you can if you want to. I love spreadsheets myself. Another thing I wanted to say about metrics this week was that as a sales leader, if you're a sales leader listening, the great thing about knowing exactly what these numbers are is that you don't have to be so focused on the closed deals if you know what activity it takes to get to a closed deal. And so when you reverse engineer and you go, okay, in order to close a deal, we have to generate 10 leads or something. And so in order to generate 10 leads, I know my team needs to, each person they have to, make 200 phone calls to generate 10 leads. The numbers are going to be different for every business. Sometimes I just throw out averages, but it really is different. You'll only know when you plug in your numbers. And certainly different kinds of leads. Like if it's a lead you generated versus an inbound lead where someone came to your website and then filled out a form, that should convert higher than one that that you generated on an outbound strategy. So then what you need to do, so on a weekly basis, instead of pushing your salespeople towards more sales, how many deals you're going to close this week, next week, we can focus on how many calls are they going to make today, and go all the way back to the marketing activities instead of focusing just on the end result. Because we know that the only way you can manipulate this number is by knowing what these numbers are. Okay? And then sales manager tip number 447 is the way you really motivate them to do this activity is to know what their numbers are. So instead of telling them how many deals they have to close, I work with a lot of managers, and another common thing is that they assume that the salesperson's goal is their quota or whatever goal that they've established for them. And typically that's not the same goal. So instead of focusing on what their quota is or what your expectations are, ask them what their expectations are. Um, and then reverse engineer what they have to do to get there. But more importantly, we're not really, ask them what their income goals are this year. So it might be your quota, it might be double your quota. Hopefully it's more than your quota. you might have the wrong person in place. But then we're going to say, okay, well, what does that mean in your life? How is that going to actually change your life when you get those goals? Or how are we going to know that you're reaching those goals? Because another thing I often see is that those income goals are not high enough to make an actual difference in the person's life, so that they're not really motivated by it at the end of the day. So what's the point of having a goal if it doesn't motivate you, right? So we pick something where we can really be motivated by a change, but also we can show them how it's achievable through these steps, right? So then when you know what that goal is and why they want to accomplish it, then you can, on a daily basis, you can say, hey, that down payment on that house is only 200 calls away this week, right? If you do that every week over time, you're going to get to your goal. So motivating them with what they want, not with what you want, okay? Because I can tell you, they're not going to tell you this, but I'll tell you this: they don't really care about you reaching your goals or the company reaching their goals. They care about them reaching their own goals. You're the only one, as a business owner, of course, you're the one that's going to care most about the health of the company. But anyone else is going to care primarily first about their health, unless they're equity owners or things like that. So if it's salespeople, know that you need to know what motivates them in order to motivate them. People who are money motivated is typically a misnomer. They're motivated by what the money means to them, because money can only motivate you to a certain degree. It's what the money does and what the money is, what you can do for other people with the money. Okay, so that was a little extra metric minute today. I'm gonna move on to marketing minute, because today my marketing minute and my motivation minute are the same thing. So you'll have 2 minutes. Or like 15, because I'm gonna close it out at 10:30. But I did so if you've been working in marketing at any time, or even sales, you've heard of something called an ideal customer avatar, right? So if you don't know what that is, just Google it. And it's basically the modern version of an ideal customer profile, which is where you lay out exactly who your ideal customer is. And it's a step that's often totally ignored by salespeople, because their ideal customer has been given to them by the company that they work for. Hopefully the company has done their work in understanding who their ideal customer is, so that they can communicate that to the salesperson. But often that work hasn't been done or hasn't been communicated. And even if it has, I still recommend that even salespeople do an exercise to create their own unique customer avatar, so they can really understand what's going on inside the head of their customer. Because chances are, I think more likely than not, you're selling to someone who's in a position you've never been in, right? You have a skill set that you're bringing to someone who doesn't have that skill set. So most likely you have not actually sat in their seat. In other cases, you may have, right? Like, I was a sales agent at one time, and so I can remember what it was like when I first started. But most people haven't actually sat in their customer seat. So it's really important to do interviews, exercises, to understand who actually am I talking to. Because what happens when you don't know who you're talking to, you end up creating very generic messaging. What I call like corporate messaging, right? Because you're not talking to a person, you end up talking to a company. And companies don't make decisions, people do, right? So you really want to get right into the mind of who that person is that you're talking to, and do an ideal customer avatar exercise to understand who they are. In my course, I do that in a very unique way through creating social media profiles and then uncovering what's the emotion that is imperative to help them make a decision. So we go through that whole process in a very unique way that's really designed to get through into developing a sales process. But I myself, so everyone needs to do this. And I did this when I started my business as well. But now that I'm 3 years in, I have a clearer idea of who is attracted to my kind of coaching, my sales training. So I was able to develop another customer avatar that was closer to what I feel was, now that I've been in the market and I have, hundreds of clients, I know who is attracted to me and who gets the best results out of our work, versus people I've worked at that haven't gotten results. So all with the same coaching and training, right? We deliver the same product. Some people take it and run with it and are wildly successful, and other people don't. So that helps you understand, well, who should I then be targeting? For most companies, this is true. There's a very large market of people that are appropriate that could use your product, but a very small market of people who are really going to be successful using your product, right? And so really be your best case studies, and if you're in a sales environment, it's like that top 20% of people who are going to really take everything and run with it and achieve all of what they can with what you're giving them. It's the people who buy your software, but then actually use it in the way that it was intended to use, or use it and maximize the results of it, right? So every business has a way in which they can better target the people who are most appropriate. And it's not about turning away customers. It's about attracting the right ones in. So I've been developing a more targeted ideal customer avatar, and I'd love to share it with you today. And I'm actually going to explain it to you as I go through it, why I use certain things over others. And it's called the Selling Rebellion Manifesto. Are you ready? All right, I'm going to include a link to it below, so you can definitely take a chance and go read it yourself. But tell me if this describes you, if you're in my tribe, because these are the people that I'm most successful in helping, and the people who are typically most drawn to working with me. So the Selling Rebellion is a sales creed for the rest of us. We are visionaries and leaders who have strong missions to deliver to the world. We are driven by a desire to do better, to make the world a better place than we left it. We have dreams and ideas that are stirring and rustling inside of us, waiting to be set loose. We are the quiet ones who listen more than we talk, who focus on giving more than getting, and who take action while others plan. Okay, so this first part that I described, visionaries and leaders with strong missions. So when I first started selling, I had a huge resistance to learning how to sell, even though I really believed in the product that we're selling. There was no way I could have done it unless I didn't fully believe in the product that we were marketing. We were completely changing the face of healthcare, and I was totally committed to and believed in that. So I had the drive to want to market it. That came first. But then I had this resistance to learning how to sell because of the current environment, and still current environment, of what sales is and how sales is taught. And at that time, which was now 15 years ago, I'm going to be 40 next month. So when I was 25, and I still am very altruistic and idealistic. I still describe myself that way. And so I really need to be convinced that everything I'm learning is there to help the customer, not to manipulate the customer into just making a sale. So this actually described me when this today and when I first started, right? I'd much rather listen than talk and give than get. And this may describe the opposite of, an ideal sales recruit, like money hungry and go-getter and ambitious and can talk themselves out of a box type of thing, right? So we start there. And really it starts with people who have a mission, who feel like that rustling inside of them, that they're meant for more. We see beyond our own needs and our own desires and take a worldview that everything and everyone matters. Every person matters because every action, every emotion, and every thought has a ripple effect. And we take our responsibility to give back seriously. So my ideal customer avatar sees themselves in the big worldview picture. It's not about what they see right up to the tip of their nose, but how they affect everyone and everything around them. I am, most interested in attracting people to my tribe who have an awareness of that. Okay, who already have an awareness of their place in the world, that it's bigger than them and bigger than what their needs are at the moment, and that everything they do and every action they take has an effect that actually ripples out throughout the world. And then they're aware of of what they're doing in the moment and how it might have a ripple effect. So we are smart, we are witty, we are curious, we are lifelong learners and know that learning is growing. We love to have fun. We love a little competition to keep us going, but we are aware that winning at the office doesn't matter if we're losing in the world. Okay, so here again describes that, the customers, the tribe that I typically work with, they are smart, they are witty, and sometimes that's actually something we have to overcome because sales is such an emotional story that's drawn for the client. And if you're used to winning with intellect, it's something that needs to be learned so that you can apply it. Something you need to learn so you can apply it towards helping the client in a very emotional, actually a very emotional business. Okay, so but the ideal person is smart because they know that there's always lots to learn, and they approach learning as something that's fun. And also competition is fun, right? But it's only relevant as much as it matters to how it's affecting the world around us, right? So it's fun. Those numbers that I had on the other side of the board, it's fun to manipulate them and see how high you can get and inter-office, who's got the most calls today and things like that. That is fun. And it is gets that juice flowing so that you can do the activity you need to do, but only if it's going to mean that it has a positive impact on the world at the end of the day as well. We will not sacrifice our priorities to keep up with the status quo. We know that the new way of making money does not require 60-hour work weeks or missing out on the experiences of life or time with family and friends. In fact, it's the opposite. Those that have to work too hard or too long haven't figured it out yet. Wealth does not result from an exchange of time for money. Okay, so this is kind of a call out to the expectations that are typically go around building wealth and, climbing up the corporate ladder. And the way that you make more money is to work more, work longer hours, take on more responsibility at work, get a better title, get an increase in salary, all those things, hit your bonuses. And then the result of that is sacrifice, right? So you're sacrificing, whether it's time with your family, being there for the soccer games, being home for dinner, having to go on overnight business trips in exchange for money, right? And that doesn't exactly align with what your priorities are. If your priority is family, then presumably your time and effort should be most focused on that priority. And if it's not, we're working towards making that a reality, making a reality out of putting our priorities first, not just in thought, but in time, right? The best thing that we can give people is our time. We only have a limited amount of it. So the current environment of the status quo of how you make money and how you should and what is recognized. There was a meme going around once that I felt was so true. It was like, you put on Facebook like, hey guys, just started my own company. I'm so excited to be like an online entrepreneur. Check out my website here, right? And it gets like, 4 likes or like 20 likes or something, right? And then you go, hey guys, just got a new job, VP of sales at such and such company. I'm excited to start work on Monday. And get like 200 likes, because that's what the status quo is. That's what's understood as, achievement. So there's a little bit of friction between what people think will get them wealthy and what actually wealth is. So wealth does not result in an exchange of time for money. Okay. And we will not sacrifice our priorities to keep up with the status quo. We know how to break the glass ceiling. You walk outside, then you get some bricks and you build your own building. We know how to win the game of corporate politics by starting a new game, making new rules on a new court in a different uniform. We know that even at the highest level of performance, there will be people trying to keep you down, even people who genuinely love you, because they're satisfied with the status quo, and that's okay if it's okay for them. But it's not okay with you. Some people just need to see it to believe it, so show them. We know that you do not have to ditch your family and friends for success. This is a really important one to me because I constantly hear out in the market, like, when you get successful, your friends are going to change. You're going to have to ditch those people that you used to hang out with that don't agree with you. And that's, in my experience, not accurate. It can also make the strive towards financial success and business success very intimidating and push it away, because why would you want to give up the friends and family that you currently have because they might not align with what you see in the future? In my experience, that's not true. You might have to adjust things so that you're not relying on them as your support system for work. If they don't understand what you're doing, then don't rely on, find a support system, but keep your friends and family your friends and your family. And please don't sell to them, because that's also what people are afraid of when they get into sales. Like, they're going to have to sell to their friends and family. Like, if they want what you're doing, they'll come to you, but keep them friends and family. That's how I see it. So I know a lot of multi-level marketers are like, network marketers are like killing me right now, but that's how I grew my business to over 100 million revenue. So I never let people sell to their friends and family first, especially while they were training. So we know that you do not have to ditch your friends and your family for success. We desire genuine human connections and intellectual stimulation. While the conversation gets drowned by the next Netflix series, our minds wander to, why haven't we been on the moon since 1972? We're the ones who feel like we don't usually fit in. We're a little bit weird. And even if it doesn't look that way from the outside. We think differently, we see things differently, and we want more. I think that's self-explanatory, right? Like, we actually desire genuine human connection, which is also why we don't want to ditch friends and family in the pursuit of financial success, because those connections are really important to us, even if they not financially, if they don't financially pay off. And we desire constant intellectual stimulation, which is why we tend to read a lot and dive into really deep conversations right away with people. They won't be like, why are you talking about this? But they want to keep it. get frustrated by surface level conversations, although maybe they have over the years figured out how to have those so they're not so they can socially interact, but in general, they prefer when they're intellectually stimulated. We don't watch the news, we make the news. We don't read adventure books, we go on adventures. We don't chase the millions, we create millions, and we give millions back. So this is a signal into the age of experience that we're in. And I think I talk about that later. So it's no longer enough to just get information and be satisfied with it. That was in the past, that was what was valuable. The people who had the information, the teachers, the encyclopedias, all that. And now information is readily available at your fingertips. People now crave experience. We're in the age of experience. So it's no longer enough to watch the news. We make the news. It's no longer enough to read novels. We want to go on adventures and experience the world. And we're not interested in chasing money. We're interested in creating money and giving money back. We're salespeople and sales leaders. We're recent grads and career changers. We're entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs at heart. We're risk takers, and we often feel stuck because we're not growing fast enough. We're driven by a sense of urgency and the brevity of our own existence to start doing things now. Okay, so call out to even further into who typically is attracted to my kind of work. And they often feel stuck, not because they're not growing, because they typically are growing, but not fast enough to their own measurement. And that's because they have this constant sense of urgency to get to where they wanted to be yesterday. And that is because an awareness, again, going back to awareness in the beginning, an awareness of the brevity or the shortness of their existence. That, yes, we may have 100 years, we may have 30 years, we may have 50, we might have 15 or 5 or 1, right? We don't actually know. So because we have such a strong mission behind what we're doing, there's a sense of urgency is constantly pulling us that we might not get it done by the time we expire. But we know that to manifest our vision, it takes more than just a dream. It takes a dream team. It takes proposing that there is another reality that hasn't been seen yet. As leaders, we must learn to be masters of influence, not manipulation. Okay, so this is kind of identifying that we might have great dreams and great visions, but we can't do it ourselves, and we know that, right? And there's also skills that we just don't have that we are constantly building on to get better at what we do. And so in order to create this dream team, which includes customers and coworkers and investors and things like that, we need to learn how to influence people. And influence, not manipulation. So I think the old school definition of sales is manipulating, being pushy. And as much as people try to say, well, that's not what it is, at the end of the day, if your intentions aren't to fulfill a mission that's doing good for people, then it can be seen as manipulation. Even if the product is something that does good for people, but you're selling it just to make money for yourself, then it's also manipulation. Got it? Which is different than influence, which helps people see things in a different light so they can make a decision. And to influence, we know that we need to understand people and behavior on a deep level to help them take action when human nature is to fear the unknown. We know we need to create gentle, yet effective, predictable, yet flexible strategies to create an irresistible value proposition. Okay, so this is getting more into like the sales aspect of it, of what we want to create. Like, we know we need to sell, but we also know how we want that to look. We want it to be gentle and get results. Those two aren't conflicting thoughts. And then predictable, but also flexible. right? They don't have to be rigid steps, but flexible and get results, right? So, and we want to create a value proposition that's so irresistible that so much of the work is already done by the time we talk to somebody. And part of that is this actual customer avatar that I'm asking you to do. Because when you really get what drives your client, then it's easier to create a product that helps them solve their problems. And then when they see it, they go, oh, that was created for me. So many times I talk to people, they go like, I ask them to describe to me first what they would like, what their problem is, and then how they would like to see that solved. So a question I like to ask is, in an ideal situation, how would you like that solution delivered, right? Because they have this, answer of what they need to do, but there's so many different ways that they might want it done that you didn't even think of, right? And the more and more I talk to people, the more they say exactly what my product is, or one of the products, or what one of my products is. And that's only because I've done so much interviewing over the years of what people want. My products and my programs are created off of exactly what people said they wanted, but also that fit in with my business goals and my lifestyle goals, right? We know that at the end of the day, if we don't have customers, we don't have a business. So sales will always be the lifeblood of any organization. This is kind of like a call out to, that I said I was idealistic and altruistic, and my ideal customer is also idealistic and altruistic. But that doesn't mean that we don't understand the reality that the reality of how money and business work together, right? You need to have customers so you can have money, so you can run your business, so you can launch your mission. Okay, so totally aware of that. We know that our customers are our partners. We do not view them as prey that must be hunted or resistors who must be defeated. We don't need 1,000 closing techniques and sales tricks to manipulate people into seeing our vision. We don't need high-pressure sales tactics or negotiation skills to get clients. We know that the more you push someone, the more you push them away. So we're creating, there's a lot of language around sales that view the customer as prey to be hunted, right? Have you ever heard the term, we're looking for a hunter, to describe the salesperson personality as a hunter, which means your customers are prey. Right? So like changing this language around how we view sales and selling, because that's what's pushing away. And if you're trying to recruit for sales, that kind of language can really be pushing away the people that might be the most successful selling in your role, because they don't consider themselves hunters, but maybe more nurturers or gatherers. And as far as needing like thousands of closing techniques and like really high level negotiation skills, a lot of that goes away, is unnecessary when you're creating an environment where customers are attracted to you in a predictable way. Okay, in a predictable way that that leads to closed deals. And the more we use, the more we enter into any kind of sales closing techniques, or there's hundreds of them. If you look on Wikipedia, you'll see thousands of closing techniques. They're really funny if you look at the names of some of them too. And so there are lots of them, and that's because people are teaching them. And the idea is that I'm not saying don't close the client. I have a very easy way to do that I share in my program. But I am saying create an environment where it makes it really easy for them to say yes and really hard to say no, because you've built up a level of anticipation and desire for what you have that it's really hard to walk away. And then this next part is more about, the people who are at this level now, and then they want to learn how they know they need to close more sales, but they don't know how. And then so they look into the current, what's available to them. So we're numb to the exaggerated entertainment of motivational speakers. We want to learn, but we can't get past the noise. So if you've ever been to like a sales event, I've been to so many of them, I could probably say a lot of what I've been to is a lot of motivation, not so much meat, but then they're, selling into something else. So over time, after you've been to a number of those, it starts to get numbing. So we're numb to the exaggerated entertainment of motivational speakers. We want to learn, but we can't get past the noise, the promises, the rhetoric, the questionable results. We're skeptics in the best way possible. We want to know that we're guided in a way that is sincere. It takes a long time to convince us to change, but once we do, it's instantaneous. Okay, this is probably a really good example of the most successful people that I've worked with or that have worked with me. They all came in as skeptics, and I'm a skeptic too, in a positive way. I'm skeptic because I really want to know that what I'm doing is right before I do it. And then once I've done my science experiment and doing all the questions, getting all the questions answered, then I'm ready to go. We need integrity. Our clients need integrity. And we know that when we have an open heart and pure intention, so much of the sale is already made. Okay, so this goes back to also learning thousands of closing techniques and sales tricks, right? As you get to a high level of selling, you understand that that's not what people are really buying. If a lot of the sale is done just because they know that you're there to help them, which is not as easy as it sounds because most of the market out there is the opposite. That's why we have such a bad reputation in sales. We believe that selling is not what it used to be. We are not the keepers of information. Our customers have all the information they need at their fingertips. Selling is not about sharing the facts, features, and benefits with potential customers. We are out of the age of information when access to information itself was valuable and in the age of experience. Today, we are called to do much more. In fact, the top echelon of salespeople have always known that they were fulfilling a higher purpose. We are advisors and influencers, change makers, and dream shakers. We help people see the possibilities they did not see before, realities yet created. I mean, think about it, okay? Salespeople and business owners who are selling their vision, you're actually getting people to see something they didn't see before. That's an incredible responsibility and an incredible skill to have when you use it in the right way for good, right? So that is what salespeople are called to do. They're called to influence. They're called to make change. They're called to shake up dreams. They're called to advise people, right? It used to be that a salesperson was the one that came and told you about the product because that was the only way you could find out about the product. It was, they didn't have a website that told you everything you needed to know, or like Google search that could tell you everything about all the competition and all of that. So that's no longer what a salesperson, it used to be probably pretty easy, right? Because that was your main job was to come and show the product or come and show the presentation, the information. That's something that most people probably already have access to. If not yours, maybe they've seen another one online. So we're here not just to deliver information, but to help people see something they didn't see before. And in order to do that, we need to learn how to influence people. The selling rebels, they've taken a step outside the box. They try to figure out selling from the outside in because they have a hard time aligning with the noise that's out there currently in the sales training market. It doesn't align with their personalities or mission. Make money, make more money is the least inspiring benefit for us. Impact, legacy, progress. These are words that hold meaning. Now, as you're hearing this, you might be thinking, I'm talking about millennials, but I'm not actually, maybe you didn't think that, but a lot of these concepts like altruistic, idealistic, they're not out for just money, they're out for impact and legacy and progress, right? But I've actually found in my business that I attract people of all ages. So for me, an ideal customer avatar doesn't include, well, it includes an age range of, an adult, but it doesn't include a specific range. Like I focus on millennials or anything like that, because the mindset is not something that's exclusive to, the date that you were born, I found. So, so these ideas of like wanting to have an impact, wanting to leave a legacy, wanting to make progress are not something that are confined within a certain birth date. Okay. And in fact, I generally I don't understand, or I don't subscribe to those kind of rationalizations within a birth year or country or culture or anything like that. Each individual needs to be assessed, or gender, all women are like that, oh, men are like that, or yeah, it's in any regard, it's unfair, and it's a little, limited mindset in my opinion, because to put it's a need to understand the unknown is why we create rules about certain groups, or I'm crying because this is so important to me, that we don't create labels over these large groups of people. It's impossible to put any label that accounts for an entire group. And as a society, as humankind, it limits our progress in what we can do together, because we're grouping people into categories. And as an influencer, if that's something that you're that you're also like, what's the word, promoting to your team or the people that follow you, then it just spreads that mindset. It's kind of like tribalism, like one tribe's afraid of the other tribe, so they make rules about that. They develop an opinion about that tribe, and it protects them from, within their own tribe. And I just feel like as society's progressed beyond tribalism, hopefully, where we're making those changes, and that's why there's so much friction between like wanting to label versus knowing that it's probably not conducive to where we want to go as a team, as a society. Okay. Whew, get over Jess. Okay. So impact, legacy, progress. These are words that hold meaning. We know that in order to make a massive impact, we have to be financially secure. That the goal of paying the bills on time or saving for retirement motivated no one ever. We're in it to win it, and to satisfy that nudge that tells us you're better than that. You're capable of so much more than you're showing the world right now. Okay, so I really feel like that's true for my peeps. They feel this way, that the world cannot see from an external standpoint what they're capable of from what they've put out so far. So they always are even if from the outside they look like they've achieved so much, they know where they're going and they're not there yet. So, and they know that yes, money's important because you have to be financially secure before you can help other people, but the goal of making money is not what motivates them. They're motivated by fulfilling a mission. And when it comes to measuring success in our business, we believe in the triple bottom line. Where most companies measure their results on profit alone, we measure it on people, purpose, and profit. And because we have more than just a fiduciary responsibility to make profitable companies, we know our profits are in direct correlation to the impact we make. Okay, so this is people, purpose, profit is the social entrepreneurship creed, right? So if you know, many of you know, I'm an impact investor. So when I invest in companies, I only invest in social enterprises. And those are companies that don't only measure their results by profit, but by impact. And not just impact into the world, but also in their organization, the people treating people fairly and respectfully. So it's a whole different way of viewing business, even though the outward product might seem like it's the same as any other product. It's the whole way the company's built and the mission, the mission around it. And actually, they're creating laws around B Corps in some states are now actual tax designations whereas a C Corp, their fiduciary responsibilities to making profit or solely based on profit and revenue. B Corps are actually measured in impact as well. Okay, so that the two aren't conflicting. You might be in a situation where you can make, if your responsibility is just fiduciary, you might find yourself in situations where you have to fulfill that at the expense of impact. Okay, and being a B Corp relieves you of that legal responsibility. The Selling Rebellion is about throwing out the old sales tricks that give salespeople a bad reputation. It's about taking pride in being an influencer, taking the ability to draw a vision that creates impact and change seriously, and only using it for good. It's about taking away the measure of success based on shiny material things. It's about knowing the measure of a man or woman is not in her bank account, but how her bank account amplifies what's in her heart. So we are on a mission to master influence for good. Yesterday may have been too early, but tomorrow we know is too late, because it is so important that we get this right. And then I explain who I am. I'm on a mission for the misfit. So it's about knowing the measure of a man or woman is not in her bank account, but how her bank account amplifies what's in her heart. Okay, so I'm just tying it all together here. So we're all together on a mission. The people that I want to help most are so resistant to selling because of what they think selling is. So I'm here to create a different way of looking at it, and I hope that you can see that just in who I am, that of how I work with clients and how I teach people how to work with clients, and that instead of hiding what we are, which is a salesperson, that we take pride in being a professional salesperson, being a high level influencer. Is one, it's a really difficult skill to master. They don't even teach it in school, right? Because you can't learn it all in school. You have to learn it in the world and by practicing it in the world. But that it's also a huge responsibility, because in the hands of the wrong people, you can influence people to not do so good. And we've definitely seen that in history too. Oh, that's so hard to think about. So that's why the people that are most interested in teaching this very valuable skill of influencing people, i.e. selling, creating visions that weren't there before, creating possibilities that weren't there before, is so important that I teach it to the people who will use it for good, so that I can amplify my mission, which is to give people the coaching that they need to help realize their dreams and their missions in the world. Okay, well, that was Monday morning meeting for you. I like talking and, as you know, deep into topics like that, and deep into kind of beyond what your targets and goals are for the week. As you can see, that's how we start out. But it's so important to bring these into your Monday meetings if you're sales leaders, to make sure that you're reaching your salespeople on a deep level and what's important to them and how they see themselves, because they're not going to work for you forever either. So, but how will they remember you, and how will you have an impact on their life and what they bring to the world, and how that's such a huge responsibility. in what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Okay, fine. I get it. I'm doing the right thing. Thank you. Okay. As you can see, this is really important mission for me, and I'm very passionate about sharing with it. And that's why I do these Monday meetings. And that's what I do on all the time. I don't always like to work, and I don't always like to do all the things that have to be done to deliver to you what you need. But I feel a deep motivator, and that's what gets me doing it. So if you'd like to learn more, I'm going to put links to the Selling Rebellion Manifesto below this, so you can read it and print it out and keep it with you so you can remember. If that describes you, what your values are, then you can keep that someplace handy or share it with people. That also helps me help you more, because the larger we grow, the more impact we can make. And I depend on your word of mouth to help me do that. I'm here, I'm on your side, and I want to see you win. All right, everyone, I hope you have a wonderful week. I will be seeing you. I'm here in emails, all those things. You can catch me. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.